This video continues looking at how to write equations of lines given certain information, and this one looks specifically at the point-slope formula to start solving such problems. So let's go over the point-slope formula first. The point-slope formula is y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. Let's think about what these variables mean. X and y without the subscripts are just variables. So they can take on a variety of values. x1 is the x value of point number 1, and y1 is the y value of point number 1. And that's what the notation means. If you look at this, if you go x, and you have a subscript of 1 there, that subscript means this is the x value for a particular point, and the point there is x1. We use this notation in a variety of ways. If, for example, if it said x to the 5th, that would be the x value of the 5th point. And if it said y to the 3rd, that would be the y value of the 3rd point. So, though we're not going to use that notation now, that's the way it's generally used. Now, what's the m? The m here is simply the slope. Now let's look at a problem. Remember, we had a series of problems. It was write the equation line given either a point and slope, 2 points on a line, a point and parallel line, point and perpendicular line. For all of these we use the point-slope formula. So let's look at a particular problem. So let's write the equation of a line. With slope of minus 1/2 and passing through the point, (4 minus 8). So we kind of see what's going on here. We don't necessarily need to draw a graph, but it helps us if we just think in our head what this sort of looks like. 4 minus 8 is going to be roughly somewhere like this, right? And then a slope of negative 1/2. A negative slope looks something like this. 1/2 would be down 1 and over 2, so it would be something like that. So this is more or less what our line looks like. This is the point 4 minus 8. And then the slope is minus 1/2. So let's think about how we're going to solve this problem. Well, the very first thing that we're going to do, there, let me just write down the slope and the point. We're going to use the point-slope formula. You're going to have to memorize that that's the formula that you need to use. You're going to usually using this. Let's draw a memorized guy right here. So it's going to be y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. Now, let's plug in the slope. Y minus y1 is equal to mx. Now, be careful here. It's, I didn't plug it in. Let me plug in x and y. So here you're going to have y minus, and y1 is, well, let's plug in m first. Now, let's see. This is the x value of this point, and this is the y value of this point. Now, we don't know which point this is, but it doesn't matter which point we use. We can use any point. So we can call this point number 1. Since it's the only point we have, it kind of makes sense, but if we're given more points, it wouldn't matter. This is going to be called x sub 1 and y sub 1 because it's the x value of point number 1, the y value of point number 1. So that's going to be y minus a negative 8 is equal to minus 1/2 x minus 4. All right, I just plug these values in for x1 and y1. So that's y plus 8 is equal to minus 1/2. I'm going to distribute this here. So that's minus 1/2 x. And then it's plus, because it's a negative times a negative is a plus, and it's 4/2, which will be 2. Now this is actually a fine answer right here. It's usually not the form that we want it in. Usually we want it in one of these two forms. The first form is called slope-intercept form. and sometimes it's called y equals mx plus b form because the form is y is equal to mx plus b. And then in order to get this into y equals mx plus b, all we need to do is to move this 8 right here to this side. So I'm going to simply subtract 8 here and subtract 8 there. And I get y is equal to minus 1/2 x plus 2, and negative 8 would be a minus 6. And there's my final answer right there. The other common form is called standard form. And if you want it in standard form, then that means you want it in the form ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are all integers. So let's go back to the problem when we had right here. Right, we had y plus 8 is equal to minus 1/2 x plus 2. And what I want is I want x and y on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So what I want to do is I want to move this 1/2 here to the other side. So I'm going to add 1/2 x, and I'm going to add 1/2 x, and I get 1/2 x plus y plus 8 is equal to 2. And then I want the 8 on the other side, so I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. And I get 1/2 x plus y is equal to negative 6. Now if you notice, the a is 1/2, b is 1, and the c is equal to negative 6. I don't want any fractions, so I want to make this into an integer, so I'm going to multiply by the denominator. Since this is 1/2, I'm going to multiply everything by a 2, and when I do that, I will get 2 times 1/2 is x. See, what I'm doing is I'm just distributing the 2. I get plus 2y is equal to negative 12, and that's my final answer right there. Let's do one more problem. Let's write the equation of the line. And in this time, let's write it in standard form. Given the slope is 2/3. And the line passes through minus 6, 9. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to know what formula to use, and that's just something you have to memorize. In this case, you're going to use the point slope formula. So you're going to use y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1. Let's plug in the slope. That's y minus y1 is equal to 2/3 x minus x1. Now let's plug in x and y. So that's y minus 9 is equal to 2/3 x minus minus 6. Right? So first step, plug in m. Second step, add in. Second step, plug in x1, y1. Next step, distribute. And you have y minus 9 is equal to 2/3 x. Now be careful here, that's 2/3 times a negative 6. If it's 2/3 times a negative 6, that's 6 over 1. So that's 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, so it's going to be a 4. And since it's a positive times a negative, it's going to be a minus 4, or negative 4. And that actually is an answer. In this particular case, though, notice that we wanted it written in standard form, so we still have to rewrite it. Let me give you a chance to write down anything you need to do here. So let's start right there and rewrite this in standard form. Remember, standard form is ax plus by is equal to c, where a, b, and c are integers. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 2/3 x over here. So I'm going to go minus 2/3 x minus 2/3 x. So you get minus 2/3 x plus y minus 9 is equal to minus 4. Now I'm going to move this 9 over there. So I'm going to add 9 and add 9. And I get minus 2/3 x plus y is equal to minus 4 plus 9 is going to be 5. Now notice I want a, b, and c to be integers, but this is a fraction, so what I want to do is I want to multiply this by 3. Now here's a case, another place where teachers differ. Some teachers feel it's real important that a is positive, whereas other teachers think that that's not that important. Books treat it the same way. It's probably just safer to make sure a is a positive. Since this a is negative here, rather than multiplying by 3, I'm going to multiply by a minus 3. So what you want to do now is distribute the negative 3. And negative 3 times minus 2/3, that's minus 3 times a negative 2/3. Remember that the 3 is 3 over 1. So that's 6, that's a positive 6 over 3, which is a positive 2. So that's 2x minus 3y, right? Because you have a negative 3 times a net y, and then you have negative 3 times 5 is going to be a minus 15. And that's how you do your answer right there. And that's how you write an equation given a point and a slope.